feel like I only come on here when I'm looking like a mess, but I just took a hot shower, so that's why my face is red and my hair is all wet. And I just came across a post on Instagram that made me cry, um, because it was a post saying that you are who your ancestors prayed for. Someone who could um, speak their mind and be soft enough to, feel and um, to, break the curses that they couldn't. I mean, it sounded much more poetic than how I'm saying it now. I just can't remember it, but it made me think, and I don't know if it's because Mother's Day is in a few days, but I've been getting down on myself because I'm not where I thought I'd be in life. I'm 33. I don't have kids. I don't own a home, and I can say that I've never had a like legit, healthy, real romantic relationship. And I don't think it's because, I'm less than or anything like that. But I think I've had to, there were other things that I agreed to do when coming here, if that makes sense. But um but then I was thinking, with that post, it made me think like, yes, I, you know, haven't gotten to that family stage, that relationship stage. Well, I have had a relationship, I've had relationships before, but um, my longest relationship was like my high school boyfriend, and like that. And then other than that, it hasn't been like, you know like I've never been given flowers before, ever, in a romantic, besides like the little corsage thing or the wrist thing at prom, because his mom bought it, for me, my prom date, and my boyfriend at the time. But um other than that, I've not even a carnation on Valentine's Day at school, how they used to do that. Um, yeah, and obviously, like, after a while, you see all of your friends get married and have kids and have partners, and that everybody around you, coupled up, and you wonder, what's wrong with you. But it's like, my ancestors, some of my relatives I know, you know, they only could be housewives. I'm gonna try to put this in the most, art, making, trying to make sense. But you know, I'm somebody who wished for that, but I know that I was sent to, or one of my, missions here, if you will, um, is to experience life to the fullest. And I know that in my heart that I will eventually get there. I will eventually have a family of my own. And even if that just means a partner and a cat or a dog or whatever, um, I know I will get there. But for now, I'm doing so many things and having so many experiences that my ancestors couldn't have even dreamed of, As a single girl, I've done so many things. And I'm saying a single girl because, but as a single woman, I, you know, drove across the country by myself. I've had so many jobs. I've got to do. I've got to work at a lighthouse. I've got to work at a summer camp. I've got to work at an animal hospital. I've got to do so many other you know, really amazing, super cool things. I've got to go on, vacations and have experiences where, I live in Hawaii for a month and a half, or I travel to, you know, Colorado and, do this, and do that. I've had so many experiences that I am so grateful for. And I know that if I took the route where, you know, married with kids, I probably wouldn't have had half of, you know, the life experiences that I've had. And I'm not saying that I'm like, that that is the better choice or anything, because there's times where shit is lonely, for years. It's just been me, but, know, but that's the life, I know other people who have traveled and, have really tried to figure out and do earth school, really be like, okay, what's the meaning of this? I'm going to try it all, be it all, do it all, before I settle down and figure out what's what, or, I'm doing that to figure out what's what. But yeah, I'm just saying that my mom, she passed when she was 41. That's not too much older than I am right now. And she was somebody who did a lot too. Like, before she died, she wanted to go to see the Grand Canyon, go to Sedona. She wanted to see the, the Niagara Falls. Like, we did a lot. We went camping. She was a nurse. She's had, adventures of her own. She, she was born in Portugal and, moved here. She was a model. There were so many things that she's done and still had a family in that short time of her life. But I know that there was so much more life that she could have had. And I look at it as all these amazing things. I'm doing things that she could never do, didn't get the chance to do. And that post just kind of got me in the feels. I was already emotional before because that's just who I am. But yeah. So while I haven't got that down yet, the family, the relationship, I've had the courage to speak my mind on here, to share my artwork with the world and really push it to get out there. I've, my art in galleries and, something that I just know that they're happy that I'm doing in all of these things, even though, my family that's earthly right now might be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, she's on her 7th job in the past year. And not because I keep getting fired or anything, but because I'm trying to figure out what to do. There's been jobs in the past, like a year ago, the job I had a year ago, I was in it for 4 years. There was times where I would always, be in a job for at least a year before I quit, even if I didn't really like it, or a few months or something. But, now it's like, all right, let's get to the point. Let's figure it out. And I'm just trying to, just make it happen. I can bitch about, something in the past that, that was seemingly a bad choice, but it all connects at the end. there's always a reason, even though it doesn't make sense now. But regardless, if this is still making sense, when you're going on a different path than, the world or your or the people before you, or your friends, or your family, or just society, there is a reason. Fucking Picasso, when he was drawing eyeballs up here and noses down here and stuff, like, people were like, it's not very Baroque of you, and not that he was in that era, but like, it was just a type of art that wasn't, seen as art. And then he became this wildly known thing, and maybe not when he was alive, and that's not a good example, but anyways, there is a reason. Even if it's unseen, there is a reason. And you are paving your own path. And you are making it okay for other people to do shit and be somebody and share shit. I feel like every single time I do this, I'm like, did I really just post myself crying and venting and looking like a pile of poo to the internet? That is like the internet, which is forever and can be seen by all. But I feel like I've come to this level of life where I'm like, I don't care. Like, I do care, but the more I just don't care what people think, the more I'm like, it's the more I can breathe. And like, I can't tell you how much of my life has been spent caring what people think and trying to fit into a mold and trying not to get made fun of, and I'm just fucking over it. It's like, I feel like it's like, okay, I had to be bullied or made fun of, or looked down upon, however much of my life, but bullies can also be adults too. But I think at this point now, it's like, I've heard it all. So, I feel like there's nothing that anybody can say or do that will make me like, I mean, obviously, like, I will care what people think and this and that, and I do still get upset when, especially if it's somebody I care about, but there's also this level of whateverness that I think is needed, because then you get to this level where like, you post stuff like this, and who knows, it might actually help somebody. It might actually reach somebody that makes a difference. And I always say this, like, people have asked me, like, why do you write, your rhymes or your poetry, and why do you share them? It's like, if I can help one person with my little quirky rhymes or art or whatever I do and say, then mission completed. Because it's all about making this or what do they say, walking each other home, or making this life a little bit easier, because I've been through it. And I really feel like I've been put here at this time to really spread love and and to just share whatever it is that I can, whether it be knowledge or advice or love or just a shoulder, or share my art or my kookiness, so people, see that it's not that scary, and it's, that you can too, nothing bad might happen if you show the world who you really are. And yeah, so that's my little 2 cents for the day. After being triggered by an Instagram post, but those are always good because then I get into these introspective, like, moments where I'm just like, it's all making sense, even though I always feel like, what the fuck? But yeah, so, anyways, happy Monday. It's 5/5. I hope you get everything that you deserve. And I don't know why I said that, because I actually don't like that saying. But, because, anyways, I hope you get, that might be for somebody. That might be a sign for somebody. But I hope you get all the wonderful things that are owed to you in this life. And if your owed to you is looking a little empty, then do some nice shit for somebody. And not to get shit owed back to you. I don't know why I said that either, but like, just be a good person and it'll all come back around. But I'm gonna cut this end part out anyways. Bye.